Seven Deadly Sins is without a doubt one of the series of all time. I remember watching Seven Deadly Sins on Netflix a few years ago and thinking to myself, this is actually kind of good. And honestly, I kind of like the premise that they were going with. You got this really OP guy looking for 6 more really OP dudes, and they just fight people, and also there's a girl there, and we'll learn more about her later. If there's one thing about Seven Deadly Sins I will say, is that it had a lot of potential to be good. If there's one thing about Seven Deadly Sins I did not like, would be Meliodas when he was around Elizabeth, because he would keep on just touching her, groping her and all that type of stuff, and it just got to the point where I was like, nah, it's too much. Stop that. Stop, you're weird. And then as the show kept going on, and then, we got season 3. Have you seen Escanor versus Meliodas, one of the greatest animated fights in all of anime history? At least the manga looked, decent, but then in the anime, they're like, we gotta get this out now. We gotta get this out now. Netflix wants it now. Right now, Seven Deadly Sins is in discussion again because of this funny image that dropped on Twitter. And this panel right here is honestly a pretty good representation of the series and what it is as a whole. All the characters like little girls or little boys, and it's weird. So in this panel right here, Jericho confessed her love to a 16-year-old guy named Lance. Sure, already it's kind of weird because, she's like 40 and he's like 16. Obviously there's some like lines being drawn here. What was weird about this is that she was literally there to watch this child be born and then have it grow up, and then obviously in the manga they were trapped in some time chamber which caused them to age of at least he, and then she was like, I love you, please, I love you as a man. Which was, I'm not gonna lie to you, it's a little weird. It's not the first time something like this has happened in this sense. You already have Bond, which was introduced as honestly as a pretty cool character, and honestly when you first see him it's like, oh, he seems like a prep, and he's like a pretty beat up guy, and then you start to learn oh, he's actually really strong, and he could even beat Meliodas, kind of. But then you learn that he had a whole thing with this lolly fairy, and then they they're a thing, and it was kind of weird. And then you learn about King, which you in the beginning of the show you got to see oh, I'm in love with you, Diane, I love you, Diane, and then you get to see in a flashback, oh, she was a little girl. And then of course the main one that people talk about all the time, and the one they always reference on Twitter when talking about Seven Deadly Sins, is this panel right here. Don't touch my woman! Which, out of context, it looks really weird, and I wouldn't say it's what you would call a very great moment for the series. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the series never recovered after this one. Because anytime these guys try to defend their show or their manga, they always throw this at them. And I get it, there's context behind it. The whole thing is that Meliodas has to watch her die 1,000,000 times, and the one time he's about to see her die as a baby, he has to protect her and is like, don't you dare touch my wife, I'll kill you. It's just kind of weird how this has happened so many times in the series, where it just involves grown men and women being I love you, even though you are literally a fetus, I love you. Actually, in Japan, the age of consent is actually 13 years old, and the characters themselves are actually thousands of years old. I don't care! You're weird! And where I live, the age of consent is 18, and then some people are still gonna be like, in my state, the age of consent is actually 16, so this pairing is actually not that bad. Shut up! Personally, I'm just not a big fan of this, and honestly, it just makes me glad I dropped the series even more, because more and more weird stuff keeps happening. And the thing is that the fans of the series are even saying yo, what is happening? So yeah, if you were ever gonna try and get into the Seven Deadly Sins, go in at your own risk and understand you're about to watch something really weird and might go against your morals. And if it does, that's okay. You don't need to watch it. I know I ain't gonna watch it, at least not anymore. I gave it a chance and look what it did. Of course, enjoy what you want to enjoy. I'm not gonna stop you from enjoying things, but I'm gonna stop you from being weird. That's what I'm here to tell you. Don't be weird about it. Don't be weird. This scene, as weird as it is, it has context behind it that makes sense, which makes it a lot more emotional and make it have a lot more meaningful. But this, I don't know, man, that's just weird. Anyways, you all should be watching a really good series. You should be watching K-On!